Okay, so the new word you are learning is reciprocal. Some of you have heard it and some of you may not, but basically it is a fraction that is flipped upside down, that when you multiply the fraction to its reciprocal, it's going to equal 1. And we will discuss that right now with 2/3. So 2/3, the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So if I take 2/3 and I multiply it by its reciprocal, which is 3/2, I'm going to get 6 over 6, which is 6 divided by 6 equals 1. All right, so here we go. We are going to practice turning fractions into reciprocals. So remember, when we're multiplying or dividing fractions, we have no whole numbers, no mixed numbers. And you would have to change those into a whole number or an improper fraction before you do the reciprocal, and we'll practice that right now. All right, the reciprocal of 4/5 is 5 over 4. See, it's that easy. We're just flipping the fraction. All right, we have 9/2. So the reciprocal of 9/2 is 2 over 9, or 2/9. Now the reciprocal of 1/5 would be 5 over 1, or 5 divided by 1, which is equal to the whole number 5. Okay, here we go. The next one, number 7. Well, I don't see that it's a fraction, but remember how I make it a fraction? I put a 1 over it. So that gives me 7 over 1, and then its reciprocal is 1/7. Good job, Rams. Okay, now the next one, we have a mixed number. Remember, no mixed numbers. So I'm going to have to change it to an improper fraction before I do the reciprocal. So we are going to do our Texas popcorn, TX. So 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 3 is 17. Remember, the denominator stays the same. So I'm going to write out here 17/7. And then the reciprocal of that is 7/17. Good job, Richland Rams. All right, 6/9. So the reciprocal of 6/9 is going to be 9/6. All right, nice. Now we have 5 times 8 and 8 times 5, or 5/8 times 8/5. So now what are we going to do here? Well, remember what I said earlier? What do you notice? Well, I'm multiplying it by its reciprocal. So when you multiply a number by its reciprocal, the product, which is the answer to a multiplication problem, so the product is 1. Good job. So if I multiply these out, I get 5 times 8, which is 40. And then 8 times 5 is 40. And 40 divided by 40 is 1. All right, let's answer our questions. So right here, it says, what does a reciprocal mean? Well, basically, it's a fraction flipped upside down. And we will go more into depth with that in class. So a reciprocal is a fraction flipped upside down. Okay, next question. How do you find the reciprocal of a whole number? Well, remember how we make a whole number a fraction? First, you put it over 1. So you have to put it over 1 first. Then flip the fraction. So put it over 1 first, then flip. All right, next question, Rams. How do you find the reciprocal of a mixed number? Well, remember what we did to the 2 and 3/7? We had to make it an improper fraction first, then flip. Now our last question. That P doesn't look good. There we go. What happens when you multiply a number by its reciprocal? Well, kind of like what we talked about over here when we had the 5/8 times 8/5. What happened to our product? Well, the product became 1. So the product is 1. And remember, product is the answer to a multiplication problem. All right, Rams, let's go on to the next page and do some practice. And we also have a strategy and rule that we need to follow for dividing fractions. Okay, before we get into practicing, let's go over the rules we need to follow for dividing fractions. We are going to say, can you divide fractions in class? And your response is going to be no, sir. Yes, I am a ma'am, but no, sir is going to help you remember the strategy for multiplying fractions. So the S stands for same. I is inverse. And R is your reciprocal. Now what this means is that in your operation, same means you keep, I'm going to change this to smaller so it'll all fit. This means that you keep the first fraction the same. So we're going to keep the first fraction the same. Now inverse stands for inverse operations. So inverse means the opposite of division. So you're going to change your division to a multiplication operation, excuse me. And then R is your reciprocal. Remember, reciprocal is when you flip the fraction. So you're going to flip the last fraction in your operation. Now we only flip the last fraction. So we flip the last fraction only. Because remember, the first one stays the same. Okay, so let's go down here in our chart and practice a few problems. Okay, so we're going to rewrite it when we divide fractions. I will erase it if you do not, because rewriting it will help you remember how to solve it correctly. Okay, so we're going to keep the first fraction the same. So look, 6, oh, I have a whole number, so we're going to put it over 1. Okay, the first one's done for you, but we're going to start at 6. Okay, so we keep the first fraction the same. So we have 6 over 1, because remember, no whole numbers, no mixed numbers. Then we change the division to a multiplication problem. And we have to flip the last fraction, which means we use the reciprocal. So this is 6 over 1 times 3 halves. And now we're going to rewrite it to multiply all together. So I have 6 over 1 times 3 halves, which equals 18 over 2, or 18 divided by 2. Okay, like I said, 18 divided by 2. All right, so we're going to write our answer. 18 divided by 2 simplified equals 9. Okay, so what this means here is that if I had 6 pizzas and wanted to give my friends 2/3 of the pizzas, I could share with 9 friends. So that is what this means. All right, let's do the next one. So I'm going to keep the first fraction the same. Good job. So we have 5/8. And then I'm going to change the division to a multiplication problem. Good job. And then remember, I have a 2 right here. So that would be 2 over 1. I need the reciprocal of 2 over 1, which is 1/2. So when I rewrite it, I have 5/8 times 1/2, which is going to be, oops, what did I do? Oh no, that's correct because the reciprocal is 1/2. Okay, I thought I had wrote it wrong, sorry, which is 5/16. So my answer is 5/16. All right, here we go. The next one, I'm going to have to change this to an improper. Good job. So what is the improper fraction for 6 1/2? Well, we know that denominator stays the same. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 is 13. So I have 13 halves times, remember I need to do the reciprocal, so I'm going to flip it. So 5 times 5 fourths. So I have 13 over 2 times 5 fourths. And that is going to give me 65 over 8. Now I'm going to change it back to a mixed number. So 65 divided by 8, well, 8 times 8 gives me 64, so 8 would be my whole number. The denominator stays the same, and if I add 1, 64 plus 1 gives me 65. So 8 1/8 is my answer. All right, good job, Rams. Okay, how is the inverse used in division problems? Well, the inverse is used in division problems by, remember we changed the division. We changed the division to multiplication. All right, good job. I'm going to label the multiplication sign right here. So we change it to multiplication. All right, last question. So what do you think the most common mistake is in dividing fractions? Well, I'm going to ask this in class. I want to know what you think the most common mistake is when dividing fractions. And also, don't forget your summary. What did you learn from this lesson? What did you take away from this lesson? Because I will be checking it in class. All right, have a good evening, Rams.